Donald Trump has just unveiled a national security strategy that openly talks about reviving a modern version of the Monroe Doctrine and putting the United States firmly on top of the entire Western Hemisphere. What does that actually mean for Latin America, for Canada, for Europe and Asia, and for you? This isn't just another speech. This is the official roadmap for how the most powerful military in the world plans to act over the next few years. From immigration and border security to China's presence in the Americas to pressure on U.S. allies, everything is about to get more intense. If you want to really understand Trump's new world plan beyond headlines and clickbait, stay with this video till the end, because some of the most surprising parts are actually hidden in the details of this document. Before we dive in, if you like clear, no-drama breakdowns of global politics and big power moves, hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss the next deep dive. And if you're already part of this community, tap the like button right now so this video reaches more people who want real explanations, not noise. So what are we actually talking about? Every US president releases a national security strategy. It's a long document that lays out how the administration sees the world and what it plans to do about threats, allies, and rivals. In Trump's latest strategy, one idea stands out: the claim that the United States must secure dominance in the Western Hemisphere. In simple terms, that means North America, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean are seen as a core zone where Washington wants clear strategic control. The document also talks about reviving the spirit of the Monroe Doctrine, a 19th-century policy that told European powers to stay out of the Americas. Today, that message is aimed less at Europe and more at China, Russia, and any outside power building influence close to US borders. And this is where things start getting controversial because it's not just about foreign powers. It's also about migration, border security, and even politics inside other countries in the region. Let's break down what Western Hemisphere dominance actually looks like in this strategy. There are a few key pillars. First, border and internal security. The strategy frames the southern border, drug cartels, and irregular migration as core national security threats. That means more pressure for border enforcement, cooperation with governments in Mexico and Central America, and possibly more U.S. operations targeting cartels and trafficking networks. Second, cutting off rival powers. Washington sees China and to a lesser extent Russia as strategic competitors in Latin America. When China builds ports, telecom networks, or major infrastructure in the region, the strategy treats that as a security challenge, not just an economic question. Expect more U.S. efforts to push countries away from Chinese technology, loans, and military ties. Third, economic and energy dominance. The Americas are rich in oil, gas, critical minerals, and agriculture. Trump's plan leans on reshoring and nearshoring, bringing supply chains closer to home, and that means trying to lock in favorable deals with countries in the hemisphere while limiting space for China-based companies. So here's a question for you: is this about protection or control? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Protection or control, and tell why. Some will see this as necessary security, others as a form of pressure on smaller countries. If you've watched this far, you're clearly interested in real geopolitics. Take 2 seconds to like the video. It really helps this kind of long-form breakdown reach more people and lets this channel stay independent and ad-friendly. The strategy isn't just about the Americas. One of the most explosive sections is about Europe. The document uses very sharp language about European migration, declining birth rates, and political elites. It warns that Europe could face a kind of civilizational crisis if current trends continue. It also signals a major shift in attitude toward NATO. Instead of cheering endless expansion, the strategy talks about stopping the perception of NATO as an ever-expanding club and suggests that some European countries are not pulling their weight. In short, pay more, do more, or expect less automatic protection. On top of that, it explicitly praises the rise of patriotic or nationalist parties in Europe that challenge the current establishment. That's going to be seen by many European governments as interference in their internal politics, even if Washington describes it as supporting like-minded movements. And if you think that's tense, wait until we get to what the strategy says and doesn't say about Asia, because leaving out one specific country is raising a lot of eyebrows. In Asia, the focus is laser-sharp. China, Taiwan, and the so-called First Island Chain, that line of territories stretching from Japan down through Taiwan and the Philippines. The strategy calls on U.S. allies like Japan and South Korea to increase defense spending and take more responsibility for their own security. The message is clear. The US will remain involved, but allies must step up and spend, and more importantly, do much more for collective defense. That means bigger militaries, more joint exercises, and stronger coordination to deter any attempt to change borders by force, especially around Taiwan. What really stands out is what's missing: North Korea. In older strategies, North Korea was front and center as a nuclear threat. In this new one, it barely appears, if at all. That suggests Washington now sees the long-term competition with China as far more important than the constant but familiar danger from Pyongyang. So when you put this together, Western Hemisphere dominance, pressure on European and Asian allies, and a China-centered worldview, you start to see why this feels less like a narrow security paper and more like a full world plan. China appears in this strategy not just as a military rival but as an economic and technological competitor. The document talks about rebalancing the economic relationship. In normal language, that means trying to reduce dependence on Chinese manufacturing, critical minerals, and technology. That could mean more tariffs, stricter rules on Chinese investments in the Americas, and stronger alliances with countries that can provide alternative supply chains in Latin America and elsewhere. It could also mean tighter screening of Chinese involvement in ports, 5G networks, and infrastructure near key sea lanes. At the same time, there are hints of caution. Some parts of Trump's team reportedly want very tough language on Beijing, while others worry that too much confrontation could hurt trade or trigger financial instability. So the strategy tries to look strong without completely closing the door to negotiation. What do you think is more dangerous in the long run, economic dependence or military confrontation? Tell your view in the comments. Just keep it respectful so everyone can discuss without the comment section turning into a war zone. This might all sound very high level, but it connects directly to everyday life. If Washington pushes harder in the Western Hemisphere, you might see stricter border controls and faster crackdowns on smuggling and cartels, which can affect migration routes, asylum policy, and cross-border communities. New trade deals or restrictions that change the prices of food, energy, and consumer goods, especially if supply chains move from Asia to nearby countries. More visible U.S. military presence in some Latin American countries and stronger partnerships on security and intelligence. In Europe, this approach could mean more pressure on governments to boost defense spending while facing internal debates about identity, migration, and relations with Washington. Some leaders will welcome the push, others will see it as bullying. In Asia, a harder line on China and a bigger role for U.S. allies raises both deterrence and risk. Stronger defenses might prevent conflict, or miscalculations could create new flashpoints, especially around Taiwan and vital sea routes. And yet, the most important question isn't just what Trump wants to do. It's how other countries will respond, and whether this push for dominance creates stability or new cycles of tension. When a superpower talks about dominance, reactions are mixed. Supporters argue that clear U.S. leadership in its own hemisphere is the best way to keep hostile powers out and protect democratic systems. Critics say that approach risks treating other countries as spheres of influence rather than equal partners. Trump's national security strategy takes a very clear side. Fewer illusions about global cooperation, more focus on raw power, and a tighter circle of priorities: home territory first, key allies second, and everyone else after that. Whether that makes the world more predictable or more volatile depends on how carefully each move is made and how other governments choose to react. So, what do you think of Trump's new world plan? Is Western Hemisphere dominance a smart way to protect the U.S. and its neighbors, or is it a dangerous path that could spark new conflicts and resentment? Share your thoughts in the comments, especially where you're watching from. Are you in the Americas, Europe, Asia, or somewhere else? How does this look from your perspective? If you found this breakdown useful, help this video reach more people by hitting like, subscribing, and turning on notifications. It costs nothing but makes a huge difference for this channel. And if you want a follow-up deep dive on how this strategy affects one specific region, Latin America, Europe, or East Asia, tell me in the comments which one should be next. Thanks for watching, stay curious, and see you in the next video.